Welcome back. It's me again, Lewin, your continuous improvement trainer from Flow Plus. This is the final video in this chapter, and before we go into the details of the module, please stop what you're doing and cross your arms. You should feel nice and natural with your arms in a comfortable position. Now try crossing your arms the other way round. This means having the other arm in front. How does this feel now? Some of you will be saying it feels comfortable and normal. Others, like myself, will be finding it difficult and uncomfortable and awkward, and some of you may struggle to do it. That is exactly what change management is all about. Understanding that people respond to change differently, and it's completely natural to have habits, and changing those habits is often uncomfortable. Just think how such a small action like this can feel uncomfortable, and think how much harder it is to make big changes that impact the way people work, change their daily routines that they have developed for years and years. Resistance to change is a topic widely discussed in many lean and continuous improvement and change management books. In my opinion, it is often overcomplicated and too theoretical. So in this module, we'll keep things very simple and become familiar with some of the most fundamental change management concepts. Learning firstly why change management is so important. Learning what something called paradigms are and whether they are good or bad. And by the end of the module, you'll appreciate the "we've always worked this way" mentality and why people often hold it. And you'll know how to overcome paradigms. So firstly, why do we need to manage change? The simple matter is, improvements cannot be made without change, and it's humans are creatures of habit. We are all resistant to change in some way, and we all like to follow our daily habits. So let's first recognise that improvement requires change, and to successfully make lean changes, we need to understand and effectively manage the change process. MIT did an experiment to look at the forming of habits and how it's a great way to appreciate how strong these habits really are. The experiment had a group of monkeys in a cage. In the centre of the cage was a ladder with bananas placed on top. Naturally, the monkeys started climbing the ladder to get the bananas. As they climbed the ladder, the person running the experiment sprayed all the monkeys with water. The monkeys soon learned that going for the bananas was not a good idea, and if any of them started climbing the ladder, the others would jump on them and start attacking them, stopping the group from being sprayed with water. The habits formed, and soon none of the monkeys bothered going for the bananas again. The experimenter then took one of the monkeys out of the cage and replaced it with a new monkey, a monkey that had never been there before. The new monkey, unfamiliar with the way things worked, started climbing the ladder to collect the bananas and was soon attacked by the other monkeys in the cage. The new monkey learnt that going for the bananas was a bad idea, so never made that mistake again. As the experiment went on, monkeys were swapped out until every monkey in the cage had never been soaked by water before. Yet they still attacked each new monkey when it went up the ladder, and they never got the bananas. If you could speak with the monkeys and ask them why they would attack each other, none of them would know why. They would just say, "That's the way things work," or "That's the way we've always done things around here." When in reality, they might be perfectly fine going up the ladder and collecting them. What has happened is that they have formed habits based on old experiences that may not be relevant anymore. The exact same thing happens within businesses. They do things a certain way and no one questions them, with a mentality of, "We've always done it that way before." To really grasp lean, you need to appreciate this and understand that most people aren't aware that there are better ways of working. They're stuck in a habit, in a routine, and afraid to question the norms. That is why involving people is so important. Different people ask the obvious questions of, why are you doing it like that often lead to the biggest changes and the biggest improvements. You may think, this may happen to monkeys, but it won't ever happen with humans. Well, watch this.
To answer that question, we set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Have a seat and they'll be out in just a couple minutes. Great, thanks so much.
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room.
I want to introduce a new word, a word that you might not be familiar with, and the word is paradigm. A paradigm is a model, a rule, or a habit that influences our way to interpret a given situation or a problem. In some circumstances, paradigms are extremely useful and positive. For example, you may have the habit or paradigm that you always look both ways when you cross the road. On the other hand, paradigms can be negative and restrict our wider view and prevent us understanding a different perspective or way of doing things. As paradigms are the accumulation of all life experiences that we as an individual have had, we all have a completely unique way of thinking that is ingrained within us. The same way that if you were bitten by a dog at a young age, you may have the paradigm that dogs are dangerous, and therefore you'd be scared of them. Someone who'd always grown up with a well-behaved dog is likely to have a very different paradigm. The main thing with paradigms is to be aware that the way you see something may not be the same for everyone else. And in order to overcome change, you may need to understand their perspective as well. When you look at the ballerina on the screen, some of you will see her spinning clockwise when viewed from above. Some of you will see her spinning anti-clockwise. How can this be possible that the same animation is being interpreted in 2 different ways? Let's take a moment to view the ballerina and try and see the other person's perspective. If you focus your eyes where the yellow cursor is now, you should be able to see her spinning clockwise. Now if you focus on the cursor, you should be able to see her spinning anti-clockwise. So let's break this video down. By drawing lines onto her body, you can now make out that she is spinning clockwise. By drawing lines onto her body in another way, you can now see she is spinning anti-clockwise. When seeing them all together, you can see she is in fact spinning both ways at the same time. It is an individual's interpretation as to what way she is spinning, the same way that paradigms dictate our tunnel vision and way of seeing things. If at the start somebody told you they saw the ballerina spinning a different way, you may think they were mad, but now you can see that they were both right, just seeing things in different ways. This is another reason why involving people is so important. Without involving them, you may all have paradigms and no one asks the obvious but often forgotten questions of why. So let's summarise what we've learned in this module. I know the videos of the monkeys, the people standing up and down and the ballerina spinning may all seem like a bit of fun or a bit of a gimmick, but there really are some key takeaways here. Change management and the people side of Lean is so important, and in my experience, it's very often the difference between a Lean transformation working or not working. Because without change, you can't improve, and change involves people. Paradigms are something everyone has. They are rules or habits that influence and shape the way in which we see things and act. Some people may have a paradigm that the ballerina is spinning clockwise, others anti-clockwise. It's important to recognise that we see things differently. Paradigms can be good as they enforce good habits, or they can be bad as they limit our creativity and give us somewhat tunnel vision. That we've always worked like that mentality is something that you will face when you make change. People are naturally resistant to change, and humans are People are naturally resistant to change, and humans are creatures of habit. Lastly, we need to overcome paradigms by first of all recognising and being aware of them, and then involving people and listening to their opinions and views.